Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. Today's episode is Charmed Season 3, Episode 10, We All Scream for Ice Cream. The episode in a nutshell is just a brief reminder of exactly what happens within this episode. So the episode starts with the sisters in P3. Prue has a song stuck in her head that she can't place, while Piper is kind of creeped out that a guy at the bar keeps looking at her and has been doing so all night. We then go to the next morning where Phoebe is getting an email from an old friend, and when Prue inquires, she basically shuts her laptop real quick and says that, oh, nothing important, and is very sketchy and tries to hide it. But Prue can't really investigate too much because she has to go to her job. She goes to her job and hears a child humming the song, but before she can get out of the elevator to follow the child, the doors close. She's then having lunch with Phoebe and hears yet another child humming the song, and so this time she approaches the child and asks her what song she's singing, and then or humming, I should say. And then the child points to the ice cream truck that is rolling up to the park where Phoebe and Prue are. Prue, of course, thinks that it's odd that this ice cream truck is working in the winter, is showing up, but nobody but the child or them seems to notice. And also that the child has no parents around. Obviously, all of this is very suspicious. And because it is so suspicious, they decide to follow the child and see her basically getting sucked into the truck. They grab her legs and save her initially, but then the vortex comes and sucks all three of them into the truck. They then find themselves on a whitewashed park where it is a full-on winter scene. There's winter pine trees covered in snow. There's playground equipment, again covered in snow. And they are approached by a child who's asking if they are there to help him, and he's going to lead them to the others. The girl that they had saved earlier is running across the park to join them. However, as she does so, the nothing appears from the sky and sucks her up into it, vanquishing her. And this, of course, freaks out Phoebe and Prue because they have just seen what they assume to be an innocent child just sucked up into the sky. They follow the other child to where his friends are and promise to try to save him. They then see the ice cream man in the park. They go to chase him, and as they're passing where the slide is, they see the street outside, meaning that the truck has been opened. And instead of going through themselves, they first go back for the kids, bring the kids, and have the kids go out following them. However, as soon as they get out of the truck, they realize that they have made a very big mistake, as the children are actually child demons with powers, and one of them attacks the ice cream man, and then they go off and run off. While they were stuck in the truck, Piper has been panicking. They didn't check in after lunch, and after Prue's job, she hasn't been able to get in touch with them through the phone. They haven't answered any of her messages. She calls Leo. Leo attempts to sense them, but is unable to. And this, of course, leads them to panicking all night, but then Prue and Phoebe arrive home and immediately head to the book where they learn that the ice cream truck is piloted by a mortal man who becomes the ice cream man, and it plays the specific song which hypnotizes demonic children who can only be vanquished by the nothing that resides within the truck's dimension, and basically hypnotizes them, lures them to the window, they get sucked in, and then the nothing vanquishes them. And this is a good way for the good side to keep the demonic population under control. And Prue and Phoebe basically realize that they need to go back and try to save the ice cream man. And this is when Phoebe, who while in the park had a premonition of Victor, their father, saving Prue as a child when she apparently got stuck in that park as a kid, decides to come clean that she has been keeping in touch with their father, that their father has been in town for the last 3 months, and that she had meant to tell them, but it never seems like the right time. And they decide that because the truck can only be opened by mortals, that they're going to need Victor's help. So they invite him to P3. When they get to P3, Caleb, of course, starts trying to hint around with Piper. Leo takes him into the back. The sisters get Victor to agree to go looking for the truck. They see that it's been towed. They go to the... It's not a junkyard. What is the place that it gets to do? Anyways, I don't know what it is, but the place where they tow cars to, the tow lot? That doesn't sound right either. Anyways, it's a gated parking lot with a bunch of car parts and such around it that it has been towed to. And Victor opens the door so that they can go back into the park, and they do find the ice cream man. However, the ice cream man, basically on his last legs, not gonna make it, explains to them that as soon as he realized that he had gotten the charmed ones and was informed by the elders he had sucked in some of the charmed ones, he had let them out, and he doesn't blame them because obviously they would assume children were innocents and they were just trying to do what comes natural to them. They then try still to save him, but the nothing comes and sucks him up. That leaves Prue and Victor to try to run to the exit before the nothing comes back. Just as they get to the exit, it comes back again, but Victor manages to grab Prue and keep her from being sucked away, and they then are able to exit. When they exit, they realize that Piper and Phoebe have been battling the demon children who have come to try to destroy the truck. Victor was given the part of the truck that plays the tune from the ice cream man, and he goes to fix the truck while Prue holds off the remaining children. And just in time, as they are about to be defeated, Victor fixes the truck, the song plays, the children become hypnotized and are sucked in through the window, and that is when Leo arrives with Caleb to inform the sisters basically that no, he wasn't flirting with Piper creepily. He was just trying to hint around to find out whether or not they were the charmed ones so that they could help him get to his truck. And he basically puts on his ice cream man jacket. Leo tells them everything happened how it was supposed to, and that the other ice cream man's time had ended and this one is going to take over. He then gets into the truck, and then we go to the manor where the sisters kind of say goodbye to Victor. However, unlike last time, he has accepted a new job that happens to be based in San Francisco, and so while there will be travel involved in it, he's going to be able to be more part of their lives. And after this bonding experience of fixing the truck and fighting demon children, he is welcome to, when he is in town, be a part of their lives. And this is where we end the episode. So now that we've been reminded about what happens in the episode, it is time to rank this episode, and we are going to rank it on our two lists. The first is a mostly objective ranking list, void emotion, but bias and judgment can still apply. And then the personal ranking list, which is entirely emotion and opinion based. So as always, we will start with our mostly objective rank values. And in this episode, the first value that applied was the single episode supporting character introduction, and this, of course, was Caleb / the ice cream man. Caleb is the replacement ice cream man, so that counts. The actual old ice cream man was really only briefly seen, so I don't know that he necessarily counts even. as a character, so I'm not counting them separate. I think combined, they are a character for worth 1 point. We then have a plus 3 points for our multi-season supporting character development, which is, of course, Victor, now going to be a part of the girls' lives. He is now accepting a job that is going to be based in San Francisco, and while it does have travel, when he is in town, he's going to be able to be a part of their lives more, so he is now being introduced essentially as a recurring character. And then additional to that, we learn that in the previous episode, and I like how they addressed it, he had said that he had left because Grams wanted them to use their powers and he didn't. And he confirms that that was the case and that this incident is what brought him to that decision. When Prue was a child, she got ill and had to stay home from school, or had to stay home. He was looking after her. Patty took Piper and Phoebe into town to run errands, and while he was out of the room for a few minutes while she was sleeping, Prue woke up, went outside, lured by the sound of the truck, saw a child being sucked in, and went to save him. And Victor, being mortal, went into the truck to bring her out and managed to save her. And then when he returned to the manor with Prue, Grams essentially berated him and said, "See, how can you be their father? How can you be here for them when you don't even have powers to protect them? Prue could have died, blah, 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 blah." And this was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back, where he finally decided that he could not handle it as per Grams, like agreeing with her. And then that is what basically was the prompt for him to then leave. Which again is development of the backstory and a little more details on exactly what led to his decision to leave. I imagine the point was to make him a little more sympathetic rather than just being someone who just abandoned his kids. It's like, well, I had a genuine reason, but still. Either way, we're moving on from that, and worth 4 points. And our final positive is, of course, the multi-season main character growth. It is a little bit of a repetitive growth, but this time I think it should be permanent. But basically, the first time he left in Thank You for Not Morphing in season 1, you know, the sisters seem to have gotten over some of their daddy issues and were basically open to a relationship with him. Then we saw some regression with that in other episodes. I can't remember the one now, but, Piper was going to send a birthday card, but Prue didn't want to sign it, and Victor was out of their lives again, and Prue kind of backslid into daddy issues a little bit. And then obviously in this episode, she's very reluctant to work with him at first, even knowing that he had saved her as a child. However, when they go into the truck together, they bond, he saves her life. When she comes out, he's able to, start helping with fixing the truck while she fights. And he comes to a better understanding of their powers and kind of what they do day by day, but acknowledges it's not his place to have a say anymore. And she kind of acknowledges that having a dad in her life would be nice. And basically similar to how Thank You for Not Morphing ended, she says instead of saying goodbye, she says see you soon. This time now he's going to be staying in town because of his new job, and so that's why I think this time they're going to have to actually get over some of the daddy issues because he's actually going to be a part of the series. Anyways, she grows to be basically get over or make improvement on her daddy issues, and that brings us, of course, to an 8 out of 10 ranking for this episode. And so on the list of our season 3 rankings so far, our mostly objective ranking is as follows. In first place, we have The Honeymoon's Over, Magic Hour, Sleuthing with the Enemy, All Halliwell's Eve, Coyote Piper, Once Upon a Time, We All Scream for Ice Cream, Power Outage, Sight Unseen, and then in 10th place, Primrose Empath. And now we come to the personal rankings. So I love this episode. It is one of my favorites, not just in the season, but in the series overall. It's one of the ones that I immediately think of when I'm thinking about doing a rewatch and I'm thinking about like episodes that I'm about to rewatch. This one is usually one of the first ones I think of and look forward to in the series. I love the aesthetic of the inside of the ice cream truck. I am a person who likes the cold. I have always loved cold. I like cold colors. I like cold temperatures. Cold people, it depends on the context, but cold and I are very good friends. So I love how when they go into the ice cream truck, they're in this like winter wonderland with the park covered in icicles and snow, all the pine trees with the snow on all of the boughs and everything. It's truly aesthetic. I like how they kind of cool tone the entire thing. The sky is white, the ground is white. Some people might think it's a little bit too much white, but I am like, I love this aesthetic. So that makes it very memorable. I also really, really like how Prue and Victor, it's kind of fun to me how they kind of parallel the present story with the past. When he saved her as a child, it is what brought their family crashing down. It is what brought him to leave, what tore their family apart, broke all of those familial bonds because he felt like after the experience of going in the truck that it was more than he could handle. And Grams kind of emphasized that that is the way he should be thinking about it, that he's not strong enough to protect them, that he's not needed, and he having this overwhelming experience with this magical truck kind of emphasized for him that she might be right, and that is why he left. Whereas now in the present, very similar situation. He's going into the truck with Prue. He has to save Prue's life. He's got to fix the truck, and it basically is now what has brought them back together as a family, where he has renewed his bonds with his daughters through helping them with the ice cream truck and the demon children by helping to fix the truck, saving Prue, all of that. And I think that is just very special. How the thing that tore them apart is also the thing that brings them back together. I think that's a brilliant decision. Obviously, the choice for it to be demon children, I can tell you when I watched the show as a child, I was always like, "Oh my gosh, children with powers, this is amazing." I loved it, and I still love it, and especially the creepy giggling that they have. Like there are some scenes where they just don't show the children, but you can just hear them giggling while they're like hiding in this. Again, I'm not sure if it's a junkyard. Like it looks like a junkyard because they have a bunch of car pieces around, like spare tires, bunch of metal on the ground, things like that. But typically, if something is towed away from like a tow zone, I would imagine it would actually go to like a specific lot where you then have to pay to get your car back. And I don't know that that would then necessarily be junkyard-esque with all of the broken metals and stuff, but I don't know where it is. Anyways, like some sort of depot lot, whatever. Point being, they're hiding behind things in this depot lot place, and all you can hear is their giggles and they're echoing around everywhere. I also thought there was a bit of a comedy in it because they were children, where Piper and Phoebe, while Prue and Victor are dealing with the truck, Piper and Phoebe go to find and keep an eye on the kids. And, every time Piper will say something along the lines of, well, there's only three of them, and then all of a sudden there's a whole group, and Phoebe's like, when in doubt, get back up, and then they'll say things like, well, we probably beat them here, and then you start hearing the giggling. And I like that every time Piper will name a condition that's good, she'll be immediately proven wrong, or what she said didn't happen yet will immediately then happen. And I just found that amusing. There's also the fact that it was a dedicated episode. I do like drama, and I do like when we get kind of a mix of drama and bad guy. But when they have an episode where the drama and the bad guy are perfectly aligned, and that defeating the bad guy also contains all of the drama, and it's just like one storyline that you can kind of follow instead of it being like 3 or 4 different paths that you're going down in the same episode. I always find that those episodes tend to be a favorite because it feels like there's a lot more time to establish all of the characters and the scenario, and it usually also tends to lead to the most development and growth for characters. So I like that it was one of those, and just the overall entertainment value of being engaged in what you're watching is really good for this episode, and that is why I decided to give it a 10 out of 10 because it had to be a 10 out of 10. It's one of my favorites. And so our season 3 rankings so far. On the personal ranking, we have in first place Once Upon a Time, We All Scream for Ice Cream, All Halliwell's Eve, Magic Hour, The Honeymoon's Over, Sleuthing with the Enemy, Primrose Empath, Sight Unseen, Power Outage, and then Coyote Piper. So first, before I get into the series ranking so far, I do just want to acknowledge that I have been saying coyote instead of coyote, and I know that's the wrong pronunciation. However, that goes back to elementary school spelling tests when I pronounced silent letters to remember that they were there, and on some words, I just slip into it still, even as an adult. I am fully aware that the pronunciation is coyote and not coyote, but you'll probably, every time I say the list, hear me say coyote instead because that just comes more naturally to me for that reason. Anywho, now we'll get into the series ranking so far, which is where we are ranking each of the seasons against each other. And we'll start with our mostly objective ranking. In first place so far, we have season 2 with 75%, and then season 1 in second with 73.18%. Season 3 is still pending its final score, but has so far gathered 79 out of a possible 220 points. We then move to our personal ranking, where we have our Season 1 in first place with a score of 71.50%. Then Season 2 is in second place with 56.82%. And then finally Season 3, pending its final score, has so far gotten 77 points out of a possible 220. And with that, we've now rewatched and ranked Charmed Season 3, Episode 10, We All Scream for Ice Cream. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.